Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're about to unpack what is literally becoming the most inspiring, jaw-dropping underdog story of the 2026 World Cup. We're talking about the Blue Sharks of Cabo Verde. If you're a fan of a true defiance of the odds, well, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to dive straight into the heat of the biggest shock of the tournament so far, and I'll show you exactly how this tiny island nation is pulling off a monumental footballing miracle.
Picture this. It's June 15th. The lights are absolutely glaring down on the pitch at Atlantis Stadium. On one side, you've got the mighty, world-renowned powerhouse of Spain. On the other side, Cabo Verde. The whistle blows, 90 minutes of grueling, high-stakes football pass, and the final score flashes up, 0-0. A stunning, scoreless draw. Cabo Verde didn't just survive against the European giants, they completely silenced them. It was a moment of sheer disbelief for the global football community. But, as we're about to see, this was absolutely no accident.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark, almost unbelievable contrast between these two nations. You have Cabo Verde, which is a West African archipelago with a population of just about 500,000 people. To put that into perspective, they are actually the third smallest nation by population to ever qualify for a World Cup, sitting just behind Curaçao and Iceland. They came into this tournament ranked 67th in the world by FIFA. Against a global giant like Spain? This is the ultimate David versus Goliath narrative. So the big question is, how does a nation of just 500,000 go toe-to-toe with the world's elite and hold their ground?
Well, to figure out how they pulled off that miracle in Atlanta, we need to go back in time. Chapter 1, From Colony to World Stage.
See, football wasn't always this massive, deeply embedded part of Cabo Verde's ancient history. It was actually introduced back in the 1910s as a Portuguese colonial sport. For decades, it was just a local passion, played mostly without the luxury of actual grass pitches. They finally gained independence in 1975, played their first international match in 1978, and officially joined FIFA in 1986. Early on, a serious lack of funding and infrastructure meant development was pretty slow. But man, their passion never wavered. Fast forward to 2013, and they absolutely stunned the continent by making it all the way to the quarterfinals of the Africa Cup of Nations in their debut appearance. That success was huge. It sparked major infrastructure investments, like building dozens of brand new grass pitches, literally laying the groundwork for the squad we're seeing today.
But passion and new pitches alone aren't going to hold off Spain. You need world-class talent. Which brings us to Chapter 2, The Power of Diaspora.
14. I really want you to focus on that number. The national team squad is built from players based across 14 different countries. Why? Because there are actually more people of Cabo Verdean descent living abroad than the roughly 500,000 living on the islands themselves. It's wild. The Federation realized that if they wanted to compete globally, they literally had to think globally. So they actively scout talent across European leagues, looking for players with Cabo Verdean heritage who can step up and elevate the national squad. It's an absolute masterclass in modern sporting recruitment.
And you are not going to believe how this recruitment actually happens sometimes. Take a look at the incredible story of Roberto Pico Lopez. He's a center back for Shamrock Rovers, born in Ireland. So how does an Irish-born player end up anchoring the defense for the Blue Sharks? He was recruited through a LinkedIn message back in 2019. Seriously, it sounds like a joke, but it is 100% true. This brilliant, out-of-the-box networking gave Cabo Verde the exact structural organization they desperately needed. Lopez has become the absolute rock of their defense, proving that talent can come from literally anywhere if you're just innovative enough to go look for it.
So they've assembled this incredible global talent pool, but that's only half the battle. Let's move on to Chapter 3, Boobista's Tactical Masterclass, and look at the blueprint that makes it all work.
The mastermind behind all of this is head coach Pedro Boobista Brito, and his strategy rests on two really massive pillars: defensive discipline and ruthless efficiency. When you're a smaller squad going up against the heavyweights, you absolutely cannot afford to leave any gaps open. So Boobista instilled this incredibly rigid structural organization anchored by players like Lopez that just frustrates the life out of opponents. And when they do get the ball, clinical finishes. They specialize in turning these super tight tens matches into victories. They don't need to score 5 goals, they just need 1, backed up by a defense that absolutely refuses to break.
You can see exactly how well that strategy works when you look at their African qualifiers run. Out of 10 matches, they secured 7 wins, 2 draws, and had just 1 single loss. Unbelievable. They topped Group D with 23 points, and they didn't do it against lightweights either.
They edged out highly experienced African heavyweights like Cameroon and Angola, and officially punched their ticket to the Americas with a dominant 3-0 win over Eswatini in Praia. But honestly, the real story here is in those tight games. 3 of those 7 wins were nail-biting 1-0 scorelines. That right there, that is Boobista's defensive discipline in full effect.
Now, while the defense holds the line, somebody's got to put the ball in the back of the net. Across their 16 qualifier goals, 24-year-old striker Daylon Rocha Livramento netted 4 crucial goals, becoming the undeniable focal point of their attack. And while Livramento is the one finishing the plays, we definitely have to shout out winger Giovanni Cabral. Cabral provides this incredible one-on-one prowess, giving Cabo Verde that unpredictable width and creativity they need to just slice through deep defensive lines on those lightning-fast counterattacks.
The foundation is set, the diaspora is united, and the tactics are totally proven. Which brings us to Chapter 4, the 2026 World Cup run.
Okay, let's dive into the schedule, because this really maps out the mountains they still have to climb in Group H. We already know they survived that June 15th opener against Spain with the historic 0-0 draw in Atlanta. But man, the pressure doesn't let up for a second. Next up, on June 22nd, they face the fierce South American Titans Uruguay under the lights of Miami Stadium. And right after that, they travel to Houston Stadium on June 27th to take on Saudi Arabia, a team that is definitely known for pulling off its own massive World Cup upsets. It is a daunting, grueling path. Every single match from here on out is a massive test of Boobista's system and the sheer willpower of these players.
And that leaves us with our final thought for today's explainer. Just look at the journey we've uncovered. From a tiny colony with 0 grass pitches to a massive global scouting network built from a widespread diaspora, all leading to a tactically brilliant squad that just held one of the greatest footballing nations on earth to a scoreless draw. So I leave you with this. If a nation of just 500,000 people can silence the world's best, what's stopping them from winning it all? Keep your eyes on the Blue Sharks, because they are proving every time they step on the pitch that heart and strategy can outweigh population and pedigree. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.